Good morning. So this is Rahi from Pirimid Fintech. So as you all know, Pirimid is actively working in account aggregator ecosystem, OCAN and seamless digital lending journey and many other fintech aspects. So also like in this A ecosystem, Pirimid Fintech is the technical service provider. So which is working actively with many A entities which are already live or which is going to live soon. And be it like FIU or FIP or A or building intelligent analytics layer on top of this AA data. Also, Pirimid Fintech is the tech provider for this Bank of Baroda AA hackathon. So as part of this AA hackathon, I'll be covering the data schemas, the actual data which is going to flow from this AA ecosystem and on which the participants can do their innovations on the variable which they will be getting. And also like this would I'm sure like this would interest all the Indian fintech enthusiasts, right? So so in A ecosystem, so all these data schemas which are already available on this RBI website. This is the RBI website, and for this A ecosystem, so RBI has come up with different type of data schemas. So as you all can see, like there are many data schemas which is here be deposit or insurance. The data schemas which is currently live and which is given by the banks, and Aakash from the Finarkein would be covering the Aakash from the Finarkein would be covering the insurance data schemas, right? So I'll just give you the brief introduction about what each data type is. So I mean, deposit is our existing savings account or current account which we all might have into the bank, and this recurring deposit and term deposit are the accounts. Maybe I mean we all know about the FD which we generally do for savings into the banks, and recurring deposit also are the recurring deposit account. So I mean all these data schemas are available from here, but just for simplicity, I have just jotted down onto this page. So I'll be just going through each variable, so everyone would understand like what each variable means. And yeah, so I mean, so I'll be starting with this deposit data schema. So in deposit data schema, so for each data schema, there are three sections. One is the generic detail about that account. Other section is the profile section, which mainly talks about the owner of this account. The next section would be the summary, which mainly talks about what is the current status of that bank account. And the last section would be the transaction. So it would give the list of transaction between start date and end date and the details about that transaction. Yeah. So for starting with the generic details of this account. So for this deposit account, so type would be the deposit. So this would be the deposit for the FD. It would be term deposit, and for recurring deposit account, this would be recurring deposit. Then this link account reference number. So as you all know, as part of AA, I mean, if customer wants to give consent of his data, then he will need to link his bank account with that particular FIP. So at the time of linking this account, FIP would give one unique identifier which will be used for the entire AA communication for this account. So this link account reference number mainly denotes the account's entity into the AA ecosystem. The next variable is the master account number, which is the generic master account number which we all getting for the different banks. Then this version is the version which denotes the schema version which is given by the RBI, right? So this is the generic information about this account. The next section is the profile. So in profile, as you all know, like let's say like if I have my one bank account, then it can have a single holder or it can have multiple holders. So holders type, if it is single, then there would be only single holder. But if it is joint, then there would be list of all the holders who is owning this bank account. So so if it is joint, then it would be the multiple holder entity. Now, as part of this holder entity, so basic detail of the holder would come. So be it name, date of birth, then whether nominee is registered for this holder or not. So this denotes that, and also whether the KYC compliance has been done for this holder or not. So these all details would come under this holder section, right? And going forward, so I mean that's all for the holders. And going forward, the next section would be the summary. So this summary would talk about the current status of this bank account. So as this is the deposit data type, then it's account type, it might be savings or current account. Then this balance date time. So let's say like if I'm fetching my current data at this moment from this ecosystems, and this then this field would denote which bank branch my account is there. Then IFSC code is the branch IFSC code, MICR code is the code for uniquely identifying that bank and branch. Then current balance. So this field mainly denotes what is the existing balance into this account. Then facility. So as you all know, like for each bank account, so bank also gives some facility or sweep facility. If there is any additional facility given on to that bank account, then this field would come here. Now, if overdraft is enabled on this account, then this field would denote like what is this current OD limit and what is the drawing limit of this overdraft account. And this field currency. So let's say like if there is some NRI account and its transactions are happening into the US dollar. So here its currency would be the US dollar, and the next field is exchange rate. So this would give the current exchange rate for that bank at that moment. So let's say for that moment. So let's say like if I'm using my account's basic currency is the US dollar, then currency would be the US dollar, and this exchange rate would be the today's dollar to INR conversion rate. Then this opening date denotes at which date this account has been created, and this status denotes what is the existing status of this account. So let's say like if my account is active, then this status would come as active. But let's say like if I have closed my account, or this account is temporarily closed, or some account is closed, then this status would come under here. So from this from this summary schemas, any person would be able to understand what is the current status of this bank account. And let's say like if there is any pending transaction on this specific account at this moment, then that pending transactions amount and transaction type, whether it is credit or debit, that would come under this pending section. So yeah, so that is all for this summary section. Going forward, I'll be covering the transaction section. So in this transaction, let's say like if I want to fetch my previous 6 months of data, then let's say then start date would be the 1st July and end date would be the 31st December for this. And below this, there would be list of transaction between the 1st July and 31st December. And as part of each transaction, below variables would come so that every transaction can be we can understand uniquely. So as part of transaction, the first variable is amount, which denotes the amount of that transaction. Then what is the current balance of that account after this transaction happened. Then mode. So how this transaction happened, whether this transaction is happened via cash, ATM, card, UPI, fund transfer, or any other facility given by the bank. Then narration. So this narration would be helpful for understanding understanding the transaction. So this would be the generic narration which comes for the bank statements. Then reference. Let's say like some fund transfer has been done via some check or something. Then checks number would come under here this reference section. Then transaction times, which denotes the timestamp at which this transaction happened, and this transaction ID will be used by bank for uniquely identifying this transaction. Then whether this transaction is credit type of transaction or debit kind of transaction, so that would be known from this type. And this value date would be the transaction date at what point this transaction happened. So this is all for the deposit data type. So the next I'll be covering is let's say like if I have my FD or RD, then what kind of data would come from this ecosystem. So most of the data schemas for deposit and term deposit is the same. Like all this account profiles holder would be same, but summary section would be changed because like as this is the RD, then there would be some additional variables would come. So in this summary section, the account type would be the fixed, sweep, recurring, sweep, flexible, tax saving, FCNR, or others. So that would come. Then after that branch, so in which branch my account is there. Then the next field is compounding frequency. So let's say like if I have my FD, then its compounding can be done maybe monthly or quarterly or half yearly or yearly. Then this variable would denote that. Then this current value would denote like what is the current value of the investment on this date. Then description would talk about the description of that investment. Then IFSC code would be the branch IFSC code. Then interest computation. So for each account, so then a bank would come up with different type of schemes. So if I mean like this interest can be credited to that user's account, maybe in the simple form of interest, or it would be the compound form of the interest. So this field would denote that. Then what this field interest on maturity denotes like how much of amount is received or on the date of maturity. Then interest payout, so which would mention that how much of interest has been paid to that investor till date. And this interest periodic payout amount, this would denote the amount of interest paid out based on the compounding frequency. Then this interest rate would be the FD's interest rate, which is decided by the bank. Then maturity amount would be the date of the maturity. What would be the date would be the maturity date of that FD. Then this opening date would be at what date this account has been created. And the principal amount would be the principal which is invested by the user into the bank. And this tenure days, month, and years denotes what is the tenure which has been passed till now for this investment. So yeah, that's it for this summary section. And going forward, so transaction section would be the same as I mentioned earlier. Like it would give transactions between the start date and end date. The only field would change is like the type of transaction. So earlier in the deposit, we have only credit and debit transactions. But now this transaction can be the different type of transaction. It can be opening, interest, TTS, installment, closing, or others type of transaction. So yeah, so this is the data schema I have explained for the deposit, term deposit, and the recurring deposit. So I'll be handing over the Aakash.
Hey, thanks, Rahi. Thanks for the beautiful introduction. Hey, hi guys. I'm Aakash from Finarkein Analytics, and I'll be covering the insurance schema. Yep. So as Rahi rightly explained, RBI has come up with around 21 different types of schemas, which are becoming the part of account aggregator ecosystem. So deposit schema covering the CASA account, FDRD is covered by Rahi, and I'll quickly walk you through the insurance schema. There are two schemas defined for the insurance companies. One is a standard insurance schema for all the non-ULIP product and the ULIP schema. So we'll be walking through both of them. Yeah. So this is the first time that you will see that a financial framework has come up, which is talking about non-banking schemas as well, right? So in your current day-to-day ecosystem, very rarely you see that there is a usage of your insurance policy data. I mean, for some of the areas, say bank may require your insurance policy, but in general, the usage is very little. But now with the account aggregator and the opening up of insurance schema for the wide population in a very seamless fashion, we believe there is a lot of use cases that would pop up, which will benefit from this schema. So as the standard pattern followed by Revit in defining the schemas, insurance schema again has three key components. First, the profile information of the person, which includes their general KYC information. And if the insurance policy is holding any kind of riders onto it, then the rider information. Second, the summary information about the policy, which is kind of an exhaustive information of all the policy details, including your premium, etc. We'll go through it. And finally, the transactions, where if I'm making any kind of premium on my policies, then those data you can get out. So very briefly about the profile information, it is divided into two sections. Holder information, where the policies holders KYC details will be shared by the insurance companies, and the rider information. So in the holder information, again, the type will be single or joint. It may happen that the primary holder, I mean the person who is paying for the policy, is different from the insured person. In this case, the policy is treated as a joint policy. So insurance companies will tell you whether the policy is a single policy or a joint policy. And based on that, you will get the holder information. For joint policy, you will get both the holders information. And as we have seen in the deposit schema, most of the holder information are same. You get the complete address of the individual. You get the CKYC compliance status. You don't get the CKYC number, but just the compliance status, true or false. You get to understand the DOB of the holder. Uh, email address, landline, mobile number. This mobile number would be the same that you might be using to fetch the policy details. The full name of the person, whether the person has registered any nominee with the policy or not. Apart from that, you get the PAN number of the person. And in case of a joint policy, you will get two holder information for the payer and the insured. The payer will be marked as rank 1 and insured will be marked as rank 2. In case of a single policy, you will get only one holder information with rank 1. Okay. Moving towards the rider details, if the policy is having any kind of riders, for example, accidental cover or waiver of the premium, etc., then those details will be captured in this particular block. As you see, you will have the policy start date, end date, the premium amount for the rider only. Apart from that, the type of the rider, which is standard accidental death cover waiver. There are 5-6 kind of standard riders provided by the insurance companies today. Any kind of sum assured for the rider in case of, say, accidental benefit, the insurance policy may say that you will get additional 50 lakh sum assured. Then the tenure month and the years for the rider only. Yeah, so that is all about the profile information where we covered the holder information as well as the rider details. Moving on to the next block, which is about the summary of the policy. This is the most important block of this insurance schema, where you can get complete information about the insurance policy. Okay, so as you can see over here, we start with the cover amount and the cover type. So particular policy may be related to the illness or any kind of building, etc. So one thing to consider is that this particular schema is equally applicable for life as well as general insurance policies. So you will see that in case of general insurance policy, there would be multiple types of covers. Apart from that, if the person has dematerialized their policy, then EIN number should be available. Maturity benefit, what the value the person is getting out of the policy as defined by the insurance companies will be present over here. Then the maturity date. The next premium due date is also available in the policy. Apart from that, policy description, a general description about the kind of policy it is, maybe participating, non-participating, saving, etc. Then the policy expiry date. Then the policy name, standard term names defined by different companies like say Jivan Labh for LIC. Policy number, you will get the complete unmasked policy number in this particular field. Start date of the policy, we have already seen that there was an end date earlier and the start date. The type of the policy, whether it is term, endowment, participating, whole. So there is a whole gamut of the policy types in the insurance products. The premium amount for the policy and the premium payment frequency. Frequency could be your monthly, quarterly, half yearly, yearly, or one-time premium payment. Then how many premiums have been paid by the person in months and in a year. The sum assured on the policy, where at the time of maturity, what is the amount that a policyholder is going to get is defined, and the tenure of the policy in terms of month and year. So this is the policy details about the, sorry, this covers all the policy details. Apart from that, based on different product types, we may get certain additional details like money backs. So if the policy is a money back policy where the policy holder is going to get certain amount of money at regular intervals, then those details are defined in the money back section. The contract clauses typically applicable to the general insurance policies where different clauses are defined with respect to say fire or any kind of accidental cover. So those clauses are specified in this particular section, including the amount that the policyholder will get when the particular clause is met or not met, the conditions, the description of the clause, exclusions, sublimit, and title. So this is typically you will see in the general insurance section. And the covers. So whatever covers the policy is having will be present in this section. Again, typically used for the general insurance and not the life insurance. Okay, so that is very highly the summary section of the insurance schema. And finally, just like in the banking schema, you will get the transaction data. So during the time of consent, the customer may define that they want to share their last 12 months data with the FIU. In that case, whatever transactions happened for the insurance policy in the last 12 months, typically the premium payment or any kind of money backs that has happened will be defined in this section. Okay, so you will get the start date, end date of the transaction as defined by the consent, and the transaction details, including the amount of the transaction, the narration, the transaction type, which is standardized like premium payment, bonus, money back, settlement, claim, etc. Okay. So this is all about the insurance schema. So we have seen there were 3 sections: the profile section covering the holder and rider information, the summary section covering the complete policy details, and finally the transaction section covering the transaction made on the policy. So this is about the insurance schema. Similarly, we have a ULIP schema, which is very much similar to the insurance schema. Only difference is that under the ULIP schema, you will get the holdings. So under ULIP, generally the insurance companies are investing amount. So whatever holdings are there, including your type of fund, the NAV, etc., those will be present under the summary section of ULIP schema. Rest of the details remain more or less the same. Okay, and finally, as you see, this insurance schema is opening up for the first time, and we have seen that there are multiple areas where this can be utilized. So 3 key use cases that we have identified are asset consolidation, typically done by the personal finance management or advisory companies, where they would want to see what kind of assets you are holding so that they can advise you better. That's one area. Second area is typically when you are going to purchase a home loan, they would want that the borrower has adequate life cover so that in case of any mishap, the loan is covered. So they would want to understand what kind of term insurance probably you are having. That's the second area. And third area, when you are purchasing an insurance policy, there may be a cases that a policy applicant is purchasing policy from multiple insurance companies, which may probably lead to a fraud. So they would want to understand whether you are holding any other policy or not. So that is the third area where the insurance schema may be useful. I'm pretty sure you would be analyzing this. You can find all the more details about the schemas on the Rabbit website that Rahid had shared earlier, and probably come up with some beautiful use cases. Yeah, so that's all about the insurance schemas, guys. Thank you.